Hey guys, this is Neek and Rest, and this is Shu. Today we are going to talk about questions and no one asked them.
Hey guys, yes, so you guys are getting a double dose of questions nobody asked us back to back. And I have the first question for the day. So it starts off with when I was 17, I met my first boyfriend. We were madly in love with each other, but did fight a lot because of our immaturity. We were together for years, and when I was 23, he asked me to marry him. He was in the Navy at that point and wanted me to move to another state, but I felt obligated to stay home and take care of my sick mother. So I said no. For a long time, I felt this was the right decision, but recently I've come to regret it more than any mistake I have made. I'm now 30 and have the opportunity to be with him again. I contacted him and somehow he has forgiven me for breaking his heart so long ago. On one hand, I feel like this is good timing because we're both more mature and might not repeat old mistakes. But I can't stop thinking about the time I wasted apart from him. Right? We wasted the best years of our life. And now that we're 30, it's all downhill from here. I'm afraid we won't be able to be happy together for constant regret of what might have been. Should I try to make up for lost time or bury my feelings in the past? First thing that kind of came to mind is like it's not downhill from 30. Like this is no longer like the 1700s where you die at 38 and everybody was like, she had a good life. Like people are living until they're like 90 and it's not abnormal. So it's not downhill after you're 30. I think that's the first thing I would like want to touch on is that we kind of still have this like old school mind like mentality of the 20s is your best years. And it's not. Nobody in my group, their 20s was their best years. Nobody in my group had their life together in their 20s. Nobody in my friend group had accomplished their goals and like turned 30 and was like, and I have it together. Like, honestly, I think social media makes your 20s seem like if you don't have it by 30, well, you missed your opportunity. And I think that's false. I think 20s, we put a lot of pressures on ourselves in our 20s, but it's like just preparing you. So when you're in your 30s, that's like, okay, take over. And in your 30s isn't it either. If you didn't take over in your 30s, you still got 40s, 50s, and 60s, but 30 for sure isn't downhill from there. Like, let's start there. It's not. This is like the beautiful point because like now you understand like why credit is important and why taking out that $10,000 credit card when you were 18 was a bad idea. And now you've like worked on building it and you might be near 700 again. Like that is your 30s. Getting back to the 700, 800 credit score, being able to travel when you want, being able to, do that stuff that like when you're broke and in your 20s, you could not do. So that's the first thing I want to address is, let go of the mindset of, oh man, now we're in our 30s and it's just downhill. No, now you're in your 30s and you guys have money and you guys have experience. You guys have hopefully maturity. And now it's like, okay, and I can do this without obligations because back then you had an obligation. And I don't think that taking care of your mother was necessarily a bad choice. Don't know how that worked out for her. Without any more details, I don't think that you made like a horrible decision to stay with your dying mother. I'm a big believer in things happen when they're supposed to happen. I'm a big believer in trusting the process and time isn't necessarily wasted. I have found in my life that like, while there are things that I'm just like, there's still things I have no idea why they happen. And I'm like, it feels like a waste of time. I have found that most things, even if like when it happened, I'm like, whoa, what was that about? Usually later, I'm able to look back and like, I get why I had to go through that. I might not agree with it, but I might be, but I'm like, okay, I see how that correlates into this and this correlated into that. And that's why I'm here now. And that's why this good thing eventually happened because of the lessons I learned from that thing. So yeah, it's not downhill. And I think that you did not make a horrible decision and you don't have to make up for lost time because that wasn't lost time. You guys were both doing things that were important to you. He was in the Navy. You were taking care of your mom, and now you can jump head in. I think it's all about changing your perspective on it, looking at it as okay, and now we get to reunite. It's not about, oh, we lost all this time together. It's about, okay, we both had our life experiences and we get to come back together, and now we get to finish our story out together. Hopefully.
I agree. I also feel that I'm way smarter, wiser in a lot of things more than I was in my 20s. So I think it would be a more mature relationship. You don't have to go through all the BS of your 20s. And if it's meant to happen, this is your chance to let it happen. But I also feel like she was being a Debbie Downer, like, well, I don't want to. Like, first of all, the first time y'all didn't work because, you know, you did have to watch your mom, and that was a good thing. You made the right choice. I will take care of my mom too. But I'm just saying, like, if he's coming back, that's your chance. Like, let's not be so negative about it. Just think about it as your second chance at what you always wanted. Like, and let's work it out. And you're 30 now, and I think it's better to work any relationship out, marriage, anything out in your 30s. Yeah. So I just think that she should take advantage of it and not think so negatively about it, because it kind of came out like she was thinking, or she was not thinking like on the bright side or thinking positive about it. So that's
No, I completely agree. And it definitely came out like she wasn't like, oh, yeah, you know, we get to reunite and I still love them and we get to work it out. It definitely feels like she's more just like, I mean, we get to reunite, but all the stuff we should have been doing. Like, no, y'all were doing exactly what y'all was supposed to be doing. Or maybe y'all weren't. Maybe I was out here wilding when y'all shouldn't have. But the point is like, okay, that's done with. And now you get a chance to start afresh in your 30s. And like now we can start fresh with all this new wisdom that we have.
And it's like all out of your system. It's this.
I mean, it might be out of hers. I don't. Do males suddenly grow up at 30? Because I was not informed.
I don't know, but stuff is out of my system. But also, she was the person who brought it up, and she was like, he kindly did, or he surprisingly did. You brought it back up to him, so don't bring it back up to him and then say, well, we missed all this time, so never mind. Girl, don't get his hopes up. But I'm just saying, like, girl, just think positive and take your second chance that you are granted and go from there.
Yeah.
But thinking negative about it and going into it, it's not going to help.
Yeah. It can definitely, honestly, that mindset can mess up your second chance more than anything. Because instead of being like, yeah, we have all this time, like, if you're too busy focusing on, it should have been blah, 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 like that can be draining. Because I have had situations where I feel like, you know, before I incorporated that rule into my life where, you know, you start talking to an ex again and they want to keep bringing up old stuff. They want to keep bringing up, you know, because, you know, it was your birthday and I wanted to take you to, you know, here, but here's what they want to do. You know, I saw Instagram and so, you know, you're just like, oh my gosh, please don't, like, why are we, you know, there's no reason to rehash what we should have done and the things we missed out. And like, no, let's just start now. It's definitely draining if a person keeps living in the past. So start living in the present.
Right, exactly. I agree. The next one. Okay. My mother-in-law is getting upset that she doesn't see my child more than once a week. We make sure that they see her every Saturday, and if they are in our area on a Sunday, they might see her again. The second visit is a cup of tea. They stay 30 minutes away from us, and they work full time. They make comments like, you see how big she is getting? When you only see her once a week, my mom is retired, and she helps me out during the week for looking for eggs? I don't know. For child, looking after my child whilst I go food shopping, so she gets to see her more. She will also be my daughter's childcare when I'm back to work. The other day, she came to the door to drop something off to my partner, and she didn't come in because she had a cold. I stood at the door with my child waiting for her to come over and say hi. However, she was crying to my partner, saying how much she misses my daughter, and she doesn't want to see her because she can't cuddle her. Is half times a week not enough? Me and my partner feel like we missed out on quality time at the weekend, and my patience is wearing thin with her behavior. So, first of all, I used to like being a new mom and having to please everybody around you, and you're just getting acquainted. Even if it's like your second child, getting you're getting acquainted to your own child, and she should feel
Mhm.
happy that she's even getting once a week, because I think that's a lot. If I have to go out of my way for you to see my child once a week, especially if it's on every weekend and it's taken away from my time. So I think it's a conversation that her husband had to have to try to figure out. But I think she's always going to be jealous if the other mother gets to see her all the time and gets to help watch her while the mom's at work. But I feel like it's just a conversation that has to be had to try to figure out some other type of schedule. She's going to be mad. It is what it kind of has to be what it is. But that's a lot of like when a baby first comes, it's just a lot of transition. A lot of transitions. And for me to have to keep up with your schedule of, oh, we have to make sure we go over here once a week so she can see the child. Or unless she can help babysit, but she works all the time just like they work. So she just has to get over that. But I don't know how she gets over that. It's just setting boundaries. I guess there's a lot of boundary setting that comes into play there. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. So one of the things that like the actual like, okay, what do I do about this? My thing is have her then start coming to your house on the weekend. If she wants to see her more and miss her so much, have her start coming to your house. That way you're not doing that transition where you're like, oh, I have to stay here. No, have her come, stay, babysit. Y'all go out on date night. Yeah. If she is like, oh, I miss her and so forth. Okay, on your days off, you come here. You see her so I can sleep and get a nap. You know, come. Huh?
It's only 30 minutes away. So.
Right. I live in Atlanta. My commute to my old job is more than 30 minutes away, like just one way. And I have to keep that in mind too. Like when I lived in the Midwest, 30 minutes away was a whole nother town. Like it felt like a big deal. But now I'm just like, yeah, no, everywhere takes at least 30 minutes to get to. But yeah, like if it's such a big deal to her, then let her come to you guys. And then that way you're not missing time on the weekend because you're not like, oh, now we got to stay over here and we got to do this. No, if she's at your house, then y'all can go out, y'all can watch TV, y'all can go on a date, y'all can do all of that. Then if she wants to see the child more, she's not seeing the child anymore as much as she wants, that's on her. Because you now have the option of coming here when you're available, when you have time, when you want to do stuff. Now, on the side note of that, I do want to say I kind of do feel for them. There was like a tweet that someone like copied and like made into like a Facebook post or whatever. And it was said something like, oh, okay, so just so I'm clear, none of us really have a close relationship with our dad's side of the family. And I had to think about it because I'm like, no, like you kind of default to your mom's side. I think that happens most of the time where, you know, your mom's side better. Those are the cousins you're usually talking about when you're like, me and my cousins, you know, we grew up together. It's usually the mom's side. So I can imagine how it feels like being on that side. Because I think if I have a son and he has a kid and then next to like, I'm always seeing his partner's parents there and holding them and so forth. Like I would feel jealous and I would feel away. I already know I would. So I do want to be more sympathetic to her. Be like, no, it is harder for the dad side to like get that same quality time. And I definitely feel like, you know, I feel for her, but also it's like, okay, well, you know, this mom's retired. You're not like, you know, it's at this point, you also need to put in the work. Like, I can't keep coming to you. If it is an issue, then you start coming to us more and we'll open our home when you want to come to us. It won't be a big deal. And also, again, that gives mom and dad more time and more quality time to go do stuff because, you know, if that's mom and there's a decent relationship between mom is like a trustworthy person, you can be like, hey, all right, well, here's your grandchild. We going to the movies. We'll see y'all in a couple hours.
See the child.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but yeah, I would then put that on her to like step up, and our position would be, okay, we'll let you come whenever you want, as long as you know, let us know ahead of time. And then that way you miss her, come over here and see her. Come over here and see her as much as you want.
Holding it back is like you getting this opportunity, for, you know, it's thrown back on her like you can come this way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So guys, I have the next question and it starts with, Hey, so there's a guy who's totally my type, but is stuck in his past. I told him I am willing to wait, but he says he will never propose to me, but he loves me. Is there any work around that, or how should I behave around him then? I'm confused and I will appreciate any advice. If you want to get married, boo, you gotta let him go. That's the workaround.
Mm-hmm.
Only advice I got for you. Like, there, if
That is
you what do I do? You leave. If a man is telling you like, yeah, I'm never going to marry you, and you want to be married, then either be okay with not ever getting married, even though that's what you want, or leave. Like those are your only options. I do not believe in holding out because you love them, hoping that you change them, because I have never seen it work out well. Even the people I've seen like hold out and they eventually, get the person to like marry them and so forth. It's always like one person had to cave. And it's always like one person really didn't want it. And like, don't be the girl that gets the shut up ring. You deserve more than that. Like you deserve someone who really loves you too and wants the same things as you. And as much as it hurts when someone does not want the same things as you, holding out, hoping they change their mind is a waste of time because it's like, okay, why are you holding out? Did you change yours? Oh no, you didn't change yours. You still want what you want and you're hoping you can convince them. Mm-hmm. You see how that works? Mm-hmm. You see how like you also didn't change your mind? Yeah, they probably won't change theirs either. And now it puts both you guys in a situation where at least one of you guys have to settle. And I don't think that's fair to either one of you. So yeah, my only advice is if you want to get married, go through the grieving process and end it. Now, if you decide that you love him more than your wants to get married, that's fine, boo boo. Do you? And then, y'all continue on. But also, I'm a little concerned because she says that he is stuck in his past.
That's what stuck out to me.
Yeah, like I'm not an advocate for trying to love someone who's not ready to love. I've done it before. I've been that person several times as well. And I would not recommend it on either side. I would recommend it as someone who loves someone who literally just had too much stuff that they needed to work through and they were still stuck in. And I also would not recommend it as the person who also had someone loving me while I wasn't ready and I had too much stuff stuck in my head trying to get through. Mm-hmm. Because here's one thing. When let's say there's a chance, one, that y'all are just trauma bonded. Yeah. There's a thing that happens where some people are caretakers. They've fought for like the wounded type. And when that person heals, you find out y'all not even compatible anymore. Mm-hmm. Again, as someone who has been in that situation, who was the person who was like stuck in her past. And then once I healed, we found out, we only got to that level of like, I love you because it was a trauma bond. It wasn't based on me as a healthy person. A lot of our love needed me to stay unhealthy in order for that relationship to work. And that's something you need to keep in mind when you meet people and they are not in a state to be in a relationship. Do not push a relationship on them or try to like trap them into a relationship. Don't try to make a workaround into a relationship, a thing, while they are still in a state where they are straight up telling you like, I got a lot of stuff I'm going through. I'm not trying to get married. I'm not trying to do this and all this stuff. It's just a really slippery slope. And I'm not saying that unhealed people can't be loved and they're not loved and they're not ready and so forth. But the way that she worded this question makes me feel like, it sounds like he's not ready. And because you're saying, I'll wait for you to get ready. And that can be, it's kind of like when you talk to somebody in jail, that pillow talk. Mm-hmm. That pillow talk where, and I don't know if any of y'all ever talked to somebody in jail. I have not, but I used to work with inmates and they would give me all the tea on their side drama. And and like you would hear, and it's a typical story of dudes or females pillow talking, and then they get out and they change up on you. and they got a whole other chick and they got a whole other dude and they like no longer, you're like, but I held it down. It can kind of be like that with a person who like is just not ready to be in a relationship. They are like, oh, there's a reason we can't be together. I got to work on all these things. But when I get better, I'm going to be with you, girl. One day I'm going to settle down and blah, blah, blah. Once I get this, and then whatever it is, once they get their credit together, once they get their emotions together, once they get therapy, once they get medication, whatever the problem is, there can be that switch up. It can be because, again, you might be talking to that person's trauma, especially in this particular situation where she's like, oh, he's not ready, but I'll wait for him. I feel like to me, when a person tells me like, I'm not ready, I don't have my stuff together, also, I'm never going to marry you, it really to me sounds like he is like, I am okay with everything that does not require strings attached. I am not going to attach any strings to you. Know that. And it just feels like she's like, okay, I'm going to trick you into it, but how, and then coming to the internet to be like, and so how do I do that, guys? How do I work around? Is just like a very interesting word to use. Like, there's no work around it, sweetie. There's no work around it.
It's basically, how do I put him before myself? Because he told you what he wanted. Like, if somebody tells you what they not gonna do, just you have to believe it. And I was trying to figure out what was the past that was holding him back, and you're not really, I don't feel, she might think she's okay with it, but in the end, you won't be okay with it. I feel that she would have resentment towards him, and she's going to keep pushing that marriage thing. Like, so it's just like, you have nothing else to do but to leave at this moment. And that is the option. That is the end. Like you said, I agree, because you're fooling yourself to continue to go.
Yeah.
He told you straight for like, I'm never going to marry you. This is that. And you said, but I'm really happy. But are you really happy?
Yeah. Well, also, like, it doesn't sound like this is her boyfriend or anything. So to me, it just really sounds like he is squeezing the fact that you love him so much out of like getting what he wants, because it doesn't say, so me and my boyfriend, it says, so there's this guy and he's totally my type. And that does not sound like you, baby girl, if this is not your boyfriend, you're doing all of this. Like, no, cut it now. Cut it now. And also she says like, he's saying he loves me. And she's like, and I really like him. Like, it doesn't even seem worth it. It really seems like this is somebody who's my type. And should I risk even starting this whole thing? Because it doesn't even feel like it's really started, to be honest. And it doesn't seem like they're boyfriend and girlfriend. So he's not even making you his girl. To me, he knows that he doesn't want to be with you. It really feels like, it sounds like he knows he doesn't want to be with you. And he is manipulating the word love to kind of keep you on the hook, while also low-key being honest with you and letting you know, like, I'm not, this isn't going to lead to your happily ever after. And you got to be careful. There's these people out here they're very clever with their wording. They're very careful with their wording. They'll use words like love and so forth to make you think this is a thing. But they'll also say, little things like, yeah, they won't come out and straight say, oh, I don't want you. But they'll let you know, like, I got a lot of stuff and I can't be committal right now. I love you. I'm just so you know, I love you. I'm never going to marry you. Okay. Just so you know. All right. Yeah. And then
you tell you.
Yeah. And they'll do all this like love type stuff. So you're like, I think it's a thing. It's not. It's not. If a person can't commit to you, that to me is not love. If you cannot commit to me, you don't love me. You might like me. You might like hanging with me. You like being around me. But if you cannot commit to me, that is not my version of love. And so am I willing to put up with a strong like where my needs and my wants aren't being met? That is the question I feel like is being asked here, where my desires are not going to be fulfilled. And I think the answer is no, but she has to answer that for herself.
She's the only one that could answer it. But
yeah.
Well, the next one. First off, I want to say I love my girlfriend. Lately, I've been thinking about talking with her and telling her that If she ever wants to hook up with anyone else that she wants to, I would be completely okay with it. Just please come back home to me after work. I love her and want her to be happy. And if she is offered or meets a guy that she wants to have it with, I am definitely okay with her going for it and getting hers. I don't want her to think she can't do anything because she has me at home. If she wants it with the other guy, I know it's her body and her choice, not mine. I don't want an open relationship, and I would assure her that she would never be sharing me with anyone ever. I would be doing this just for her. I'm just nervous about bringing it up with her, or if I should just keep it to myself. Okay. It sounds
Brother.
like a lot of self-esteem issues. But how can you say you don't want an open relationship, but that's basically an open relationship? And if she's never mentioned this stuff to you at all, it seemed like it would push her away. So it's something you need to just keep to yourself. And I don't know why that popped in your head anyways, unless you had suspicions that she might be doing this. If you don't have suspicions, she might think that you might be cheating. And you're like, it's okay if you cheat. Like, it's okay if you go have sex with somebody else because I will still love you. That just wouldn't sound right coming out of anybody's mouth to me. Like, what you doing?
That sounds exactly like you. Like, first of all, feel like you just confessed to cheating. Let's have that combo.
Talking about, why would I do that? Like, yeah, it would be aggressive, Meeks coming out. But yeah, it kind of sounds like maybe he has low self-esteem, but if he doesn't, maybe you just need to have an open relationship. I'm just confused why these thoughts came to his head. But if it's nothing she's mentioned, I don't think he should bring that up. Just keep that to yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think if this is not something that she has mentioned, like, don't bring it up. And I think, honestly, what came to my mind, I think he doesn't consider an open relationship because he's not cheating. And he's like, no, we're not saying anybody can come in. I'm saying that you can. And he's also not saying like he wants her to have a relationship. She's like, he's saying like, if you want to go have sex with somebody, cool, just come back home. And I think that's why he doesn't consider open, because he's like, yeah, I'm not saying you can like date people. You can have sex. And I'm not saying like, I want to date people or have sex with people. I'm going to be here. I just want you to be happy. And
I didn't think about that. So maybe he thinks he's not good enough.
No, that's exactly where I was going with that. Like, I really feel like this is maybe, because what came to my mind, I was like, I wonder if this is someone that has ED, like has a issue with performance, whether it be he doesn't think he's satisfying or he's currently unable to perform right now. And if it was a matter of him being like, I mean, it's been 6 months. I feel like she's probably annoyed that this is still going on. And to save the relationship, I'd rather you get that need met and we keep this relationship if that's what I have to do. My thing is, and that's fine. I think people should do what works for them in their relationship. Okay. What works for me might not work for you. There are plenty of relationships that one partner can step out and one partner doesn't, or whatever works for people works for them. I would highly suggest that you guys are very sure that works for your lifestyle, though, and works for jealousy. That's not something being done just to keep the other person. It's something that you're actually into. It can just go all types of wrong when it's just to keep the other person. That jealousy is always going to eventually rear its head, and it's going to create additional issues. Now, there are some people who do not have issues with sharing their partner. Like, it's just not a thing for them. They really just don't see sex as a big deal. And if that's them, cool, make it work for y'all. But the fact that she has not brought it up first, I just would not bring it up unless there are things being said and done. And even then, I wouldn't bring it up. I would just open up the discussion of like, are you happy in our physical aspect of our relationship? Are you unsatisfied? Are you frustrated? Are you, and then let her, take it from there. Because for all you know, she might be like, you know what, I'm a little frustrated, but you know what, I still want to work. I still want to, there's toys we can try. There's different techniques. There's different medications. Let's try that route first. That might be her go-to. And like you said, also, it could literally be just his insecurity talking. She could be happy for all she knows. And it could just be a matter of like, oh, this is an extremely extroverted person. And I see she's so social and she's out and I'm introverted. And maybe that's what I got to do to keep her. But I would not bring this up without having a discussion of if this is even an issue for her, if this is even a thing she is thinking on.
Like, it just seems like it'll make more problems.
Yeah. And I think it's just a slippery slope to open up your relationship as a means to try to keep a person and not because it's something you truly want. It does not sound like he's like, yeah, you know, this is what I want. It would be fun. I'm into it. No, it sounds like a means of trying to keep this person. And I think that that's dangerous.
Yeah. If she could like turn out like, what if she can't just have sex with people? You like, and she gets so emotionally involved, then she really likes this guy's sex, and then they start like you just open up doors for so much other stuff. That, sir, why are we talking about this? I don't know. I'll be so confused. Like, huh? Why do we gotta talk? Wait, this is me.
Yeah. I talk to your partner first. Please stop making assumptions. For all you know, your partner is actually perfectly fine with what's going on. And then again, he didn't really get into detail, so maybe it came up after the partner said something, which would then, change the conversation. But yeah, let's make sure that is even something that's even on their mind before we open Pandora's box. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the next question. So my question goes. Gonna sound super convoluted and stupid, but my girlfriend's ex has stalked me for a few years. In the form of stupid things like looking at my social media, going to the places I tend to go, making a point of posting himself in those very same places. Yes, I was looking too, not innocent here. And that was how things were. It's kind of getting worse. Like I've moved 3 times and somehow each time they found out where I live. The first time was the same city, so that's creepy. Still, but fine. But I just moved outside of the city and they posted the street name without context. The first time they posted something like, people need to hide their addresses better. When they found out the first time, what the F do I do? I'm miles away from where I used to be. I have no idea how they got the address. Just a little nervous as there are only a few houses and they made a point of getting my car registration last time they knew where I live. So they'll know which house is mine. It seems psychotic that they want to know where I live, but also they want me to know that they know. Am I overthinking this? So at first I thought she was overthinking it when she was just like, she's on my social media. They go to the places I go because places are places. Like if you're going to popular attractions, they're gonna be there, man. Like if I'm in Atlanta and I'm like, I'm at Lenox and then they post at Lenox, a lot of people go to Lenox. So at first I was like, it sounds like you're overthinking it until she said they posted her street address. Yeah. And then said people need to hide where they live better. Yeah, that's scary content. Like that's scary. That is like, oh no, y'all for real. Like y'all are really. Yeah. Oh yeah. I want to know why too. Like, why are you and my ex together trying to find out where I live? But with this, one of the things I would do in this particular situation is one, create a paper trail. Every time I post something like that, screenshot it, take a picture, right? Create a paper trail, create a folder. So you have evidence if things keep escalating and that way you can file order protection. So if anything ever pops off, it shows that this was consistent behavior for so many years. So that's thing one. Thing two, stop. I would not post where I am on social media and stuff anymore. And I know that sounds sucky because it's like, well, why do I have to stop doing my things my way, regular way? Well, because now your safety is now a concern. One of the things I've talked about this on my other podcast, The Overlook, and I've done an interview earlier this year, and I've been asked things like, okay, well, what would you recommend to women to do to keep themselves safe? And like when I was talking about like dating apps and stuff, some of the things I discussed was like, when you take pictures, try not to take pictures with landmark things in your picture of some place you frequently visit. So for example, if I work downtown, for example, in Atlanta, they have this one place downtown where there's this huge Coca-Cola sign, right? Mm-hmm. And if I work there, that's where I have to be consistently. That's not something I would post on like a dating app or something like that, because now people know, oh, it seems like she's in this area a lot. Right. Or even if it doesn't say like, oh, this is where I work type of thing, those type of landmarks can be clues for people like, okay. I see she was in this area, and you don't know. Now they can start staking out that area. Same thing with like, sometimes I've seen people on like Bumble and they'll post a picture of themselves at work with their full name on display, their job title, company they work on their badge, just on full display. And I'm like, why would you do that, baby? And I am personally like, you might want to consider moving again if that is feasible for you. If it's not, I would make sure I would get surveillance and update my security. And honestly, with that particular one, I would be very, very like clear and selective about, okay, who knows where I am at all times? Like I think we talked about this before. To this day, me and Neek still share our location on each other's iPhone. Yeah. And so if anything ever happens to me, like my mom knows she can call Neek and be like, pull up. And I've had this conversation with my mom, like, hey, if any reason you are concerned, and we had this conversation because she once called me and I was busy and I didn't answer. And then like 2 hours later, I looked at my phone. I had like 30 messages from her. And I was just like, woman, she was like, it's late and you didn't answer. I was like, yes, because it's late. But we ended up having to have this talk where I was like, yo, if for any reason you are concerned about me, you're like, want to know where I am, your best bet is to call Neek. Your best bet is to call her. One, I probably already told her what I'm doing. Two, she knows my location. Like, she knows my location. She knows like, oh, hold on, just let me pull up. Like, she at his house. Mom, she good. I can't tell you where she is. She's fine. Trust me on this. She is having the time of her life. She's enjoying herself. But things like that can keep yourself safe. But I would be really particular about what I'm posting. And I will also cut off contact with anybody who's mutual with them. And that might not seem fair, but if I don't know how they're getting my information, but we have mutual friends, I would really consider how much information I start giving those mutual friends. And you might be thinking to yourself like, oh, we don't communicate, on a regular basis. I don't tell them major details, but you'll be surprised how much people, not realizing how much they're giving away, will just be like, oh yeah, and I saw Jennifer. And I saw her working at blah, blah, blah. I didn't even know she worked there. I was in there, blah, blah, blah. And then they just go about their way, not knowing they gave your ex ammunition, not knowing they gave somebody information that they can use against you. Mm-hmm. Like it's not done out of malicious intent, but it's, So I would really consider like, okay, who do we have that's mutual that might be able to give them information on this? But my biggest thing is create a paper trail of what's going on. And it does not sound like she has enough evidence to file a restraining order, but even maybe trying to file one might be good for you to be able to create a paper trail. Like, no, I've been having issues for a while. I try to file several times. And unfortunately, we're still in a place that when it comes to women's safety, we still need a lot of things like that for the criminal justice system to be on our side. I've been in court with women who had domestic violence situations, who had people who really tried to harm them. And basically the judges are like, yeah, well, that's not enough evidence. And it can be really scary. So always try to collect us every time you get something that sounds suspicious, even if you're like, this isn't something major. Keep building up your file. Yeah. Keep building up your file to keep yourself safe. Yeah. And up your security and so forth.
Yeah, I just think that it's all very scary. That is like very scary to have to think about, but you basically hit everything on the head. Like she has to stop showing her location. And just safeguard herself as much as she can. And with the restraining order, it's a start. Or keep trying to do it. Yeah. And just keep the paper trail, keep the information that you keep receiving. I just don't understand what's the big deal. Like, what do you want from me? But
Mm-hmm.
crazy exes are crazy exes. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's just what they are. So you have to keep yourself safe and
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's a coincidence, because for them to show the whole street that you live on and it's a whole other city, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it said that you have to continue to move, but you just remember to safeguard yourself from here on out.
Yeah. And like you said, crazy exes are crazy exes. Things can be scary. Even before my last move, like, this situation, like I had some weird stuff going on at my place where I was concerned about a particular person from my past. Cause I had 2 incidents of me coming home and realizing somebody had been in my house. I had reached out to my property manager at the time and was like, yo, did y'all send maintenance here? And did y'all, was somebody in my house for some reason? And they were like, no, went back and so forth. And I remember trying to convince myself that I was tripping the first time. Like the first time I think I had came home and like my laundry basket had been like knocked over, and not like tipped over, like my clothes were everywhere. And I was like, And there had been a couple things in my bedroom that had been moved, but it wasn't like the lamp got taken off like my table and it got placed on the other side of the room type moved, It was something more like, okay, I was reading that book in bed. Why is that book in my closet type stuff? It was little things, but also things that didn't make sense. Like, why would I put a book in my closet? Stuff like that. And I talked myself out of it. I think I had told you and a couple other girlfriends. And then I was like, well, y'all know my memory bad. And maybe I did do this. And maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. And maybe when I closed my closet door, I slammed it so hard, I knocked my stuff over. And then I had a second time that happened. I don't know if you recall, but like, I was like, yo, I came home and my lazy boy was moved, blocking the pathway to the stairs. And that was scary for me. Like, that was really scary when I was like, nope, something's happening. I don't know what's happening. It's either like I got ghosts and I need to get an exorcist, or like, and matter of fact, I think it was 2 different people. I wasn't really sure. But I was like, something's happening. And what I ended up having to do is I put my management alert, like, hey, in case it was maintenance, coming into people's apartments or whatever. And I was just like, hey, just so y'all know, I had a second incident of coming home and something had been messed with in my home. I got a Ring doorbell camera set up so I could see if anybody was like entering my home. I could see if anybody was like stopping in front of my house, anything like that. And then luckily for me, my lease was up like 3 months later. And so when it was up, I was just like, yep, I'm moving.
Yeah.
But I brought that up to say, don't talk yourself out and say, am I overthinking? I was able to move and I have not had any instances since or anything like that. But when that second instance happened, it terrified me. And then I felt mad at myself because, I'm a mother with a daughter. Right. And I kept imagining, like, if something happened, not only am I fighting for her life, like, I got to make sure she's safe. I got to make sure nothing happens that she sees that traumatizes her. And I talked myself out of taking better precautions the first time. So anyways, I say all that to say, even if to you and you talk to other people and they're like, girl, you tripping, always take steps to protect yourself in case you're not.
Yeah.
You know your intuition. You know when something feels off, and just take your steps. It's better to be safe than it is to be sorry.
I agree. That's too coincidental.
Yeah, them posting your street, and then also the fact that it seems like they're in cahoots with it together. Start creating your paper trail, up your security. Make sure you have people who know where you are. Making sure you're very clever about what pictures you post. If there's clear landmarks and stuff like that in the background, that's noticeable. Things such as that. If you can move, I would recommend moving. But if you cannot, do those things to kind of just protect yourself.
Right. Let me go to the next one. Started a new job 6 months ago. It was a career I thought I wanted for a few years and had trained up to do it. At the start, I felt really positive about the move and liked my manager and colleagues. The job is very high pressure and has often resulted in me working long days. I feel that I've started to see my manager's true colors too. She will gossip behind people's backs, including her own staff. She's very unpredictable with her moves, very supportive and funny one minute and the next micromanaging and angry. She has put me down in front of colleagues before and can be emotionally manipulative. I suffer from Sunday blues, but this sometimes carry on until Friday. I have been approached by my old company and offered to go back. I much prefer the culture of my last workplace, but worried I'm making the wrong decision and that I haven't been in my new job all that long. What is everyone's thoughts? It sounds so familiar. But yes, I think I learned from you, honestly. Like I learned that from you. Like you gonna get hired again. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you, and there's no need to let it linger. If you enjoyed your last job and only reason you moved because it was new opportunity of something you love, I believe those opportunities will come up again. I think she might not want to see us hopping around or whatever. But I just like just saying you had the Sunday blues. I know that feeling. First, I was like, wait, what's Sunday blues? I was like, oh, you just get depressed because you got to go back to work. And I know that feeling oh too well. And so sometimes it's just that opportunity for growth and you got that chance. And I know you haven't been there a year, but other opportunities will come. Maybe apply for something that's similar, that's the same thing, but it's a different atmosphere or work culture. Or if you feel that going back to your last job will make you more happy, just do what makes you happy. It's like you don't owe it to a job. I know you want to like build your career. I think it also depends on which way you want to go with your career too.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't have to stay there for a year, but she could honestly get another job that does the same thing. I guess I'm not sure what her career is or her choice is. I just don't feel she's to stay anywhere where she's unhappy at all. But that's just my opinion because I don't like to let things linger, like jobs. I mean, I had a whole bunch of jobs lately, but I just don't feel the need to stay anywhere where I'm unhappy. Because you're at your job more than you're at your house, and if it's bringing you turmoil, why do I have to do this? That's just my opinion. But what about you?
Oh, you know my opinion on this. You know, I am such a big believer in like the minute I'm such a big believer and be like, F this job and getting up and leaving. Not like middle shift, but definitely be like, you know what? I'm gonna be on Indeed while y'all talking because that is my coping. I have definitely been in jobs where like in the middle of the meeting, I've pulled out my laptop and started searching on Indeed and just be like, you know what, if y'all on the work computer,
right?
Y'all done tick me off to the point that this is now my coping skill. Whenever y'all tick me off, I'm gonna just go on Indeed and do what y'all need to do. Leave. If you, especially since it says she has her old job that she actually liked, asking her that, go ahead. I worked at a company once where we had a woman who left after, I don't know, she had been there for a couple of years, but she left and she went to a new job and she was only at the new job for 2 months and then came back. They took her back and nobody cared. Nobody cared. Honestly, if anything, I was like, how bad was that job that you came back here? Like, I was confused because I was like, girl, that was one of the jobs that had me on Indeed. Two out of the, 8 working hours. I would be on Indeed just like, how do I get out of here? But yeah, and like nobody cared. Nobody judged her. Nobody was anything. And when you're at these jobs for very short periods of time, after you get that next job, you can literally just take that off your resume. Like you don't, if you were like, well, how do I explain this? Just, if it was only a couple months, girl, take it off. It's fine. Nobody cares. And that's another thing I have found, at least in my life, companies do not care about job hopping as much as we think they do. One, If you are a millennial or any generation that follows, it's almost expected. I right now have a cousin who a few years back asked me to edit her resume, and I was like, cool. And she sent it to me, and it was like 6 pages long because every 3 months she got a new job. And guess what? It was 6 pages long because people kept hiring her. People kept hiring her. It did not matter. Even now, to this day, every time I talk to her, she has a new job, and I don't know how. I literally don't know how for multiple reasons. But she stays with a job, and like it has never prevented her or stopped her in her career at all, at all. And again, I'm a job hopper too. I definitely have places that I've worked 10 months here, 11 months here, and it has never stopped me in my career. Like it has never been a problem. But you're able to talk it up, like it does, where it does not sound bad. Like I have had those conversations and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And they just move on. It was a great working experience, and I am thankful for what I was able to learn there. But I was able to then advance into opportunities that better fit my career trajectory.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. And then they'll just be like, okay. And you go to the next question. It's really not that big of a deal. Life is too short to stay in relationships that make you unhappy and jobs that make you unhappy. Jobs are such a big part of our life.
Everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Like it's too much. Like work can cause depression. Work can cause, and if you would not allow a partner to humiliate you in front of, period, but especially out in front of like your family and your peers and so forth, you should not be allowing your boss to do that as well. You shouldn't allow anybody to do it. But I think sometimes we separate how we have work relationships versus our personal life. And there's some golden rules that should be across for both. People in both areas of your life should be respecting you and treating you as a person with dignity and worth. But guys, that is all we have for this week's episode. We will have additional content for you guys again on Thursday. Don't forget, we will have our additional episode released this weekend. Our bonus episode is not just a social work episode, but we will have social work guests. It will be fun, guys. And other than that, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review wherever you are listening. And other than that, guys, you will hear our voices again next Thursday.